When we put this all together, this becomes then everything that you need in order to run a complex deal, as well as how we figure out where the top deal gaps are and how we go fill them. I'm about to break down the exact framework that I've used to close a dozen seven-figure deals, and right after this recording, I'm sending out a multi-year agreement to a public company following this exact structure. It made the deal happen. I'm Nate Nasralla. I'm a repeat software founder and sales leader. Now, the tool that I've used time and time again across all of these deals, from MailChimp to Microsoft to Unum Insurance to United Airlines, it's the one-page business case. It's called that because it is literally one page long, and it is simple. It is black font, white page, but it has the right structure of how an executive is going to engage with your message and to begin to understand how you can drive value back into their business specifically and uniquely. And if you're listening and you're thinking, I'm not doing 6 or 7 figure deals, I'm doing 20K deals, well, the framework is simple, it's easy to follow, it's one you can use now and one you will grow with throughout your career. So we're gonna break down the one-page business case. And along the way, we have 2 goals. Number 1, to script out the way that our buyers talk about us without us there in the room. The language that our champion is gonna use to sell their own team internally. And number 2, in the process of writing this, we're gonna realize a lot of things that we probably should know about this deal that we don't, where all of our gaps are. And writing is simply the process of making those visible so that now that we've found them, we can go fill them with the buying team, building a sense of ownership by creating this together over time. So first, let's break down the different sections of the business case, and then we're gonna go write one for IKEA. Now, here's the business case. 5 different sections. First, a priority-driven headline, something that grabs attention, links back to what the executive is already sold on. Next, we're gonna begin to tee up the problem statement. What's standing in the way? The approach, how are we going to solve this based on the way that we frame the problem? And then finally, the outcomes. If we follow this approach, then what improves? Building some contrast in our core metrics. And then finally, the investment. What's it gonna take in order to unlock those outcomes? Now, here's the example that we're gonna use. Have you ever been to an IKEA store before? If you have, you know that these things are huge stores, right? You walk around, you wander all around, and often it takes a long time to get to them. Well, IKEA has started to create these more small format, small footprint stores inside of urban areas. They've realized 70% of their market is inside of major cities where their stores don't fit. So they want to attract more shoppers. However, this is creating an issue. If you're going to buy any type of large item, which drives revenue very quickly, think of things like kitchens or bedroom sets, right? They're big, they're bulky. You can't fit that into a tiny urban store. So how are you going to help the customer begin to visualize, oh, this is what I'm buying, and this is what I'm gonna spend thousands of dollars on? Well, that's a big problem. And in IKEA's language, that's called the imagination gap. Okay, so to close that imagination gap, let's take the example, and you can go check them out. Let's take 3Kit. 3Kit sells augmented reality, virtual reality software. Now, we're gonna create an experience where an IKEA associate in the store can begin to create a visualization in the customer's own home, what certain items would look like without actually having to have the inventory in the store, all right? So we're gonna use 3D tech in order to close the imagination gap. Now, let's go build a business case for this. All right, so what we're gonna lead with is we're gonna start right up top with the priority-driven executive headline. And what we're gonna say is closing the imagination gap, their language, to drive 35% more bundled sales, all right? And so people come in and they begin to maybe buy some plates and some things that are small, easy to pick up, but how do we get those large, bulky items, right? So this is how we're gonna drive bundled sales. Now, here's the headline, all right? So what we just talked about, what is the change or the shift? And so what we'll say is, because of our shift to small format, I think they call them point and click stores here. We're gonna use that language, very important, stores. Now's the time to integrate a 3D, we'll say AR, VR option for customers in store. When we do, now this is where we set up the contrast, right? So that's the change, the approach or the response. Now, when we do, we'll avoid the 20% decline in large furniture categories while unlocking 35% more bundled sales. Again, large furniture is great because if you're going in order to buy, for example, a king bed, well, now you probably need some matching bedside tables, maybe a dresser to go with it. Hugely valuable for IKEA, getting more difficult to do over time. So here in the problem statement, what we're gonna tee up is this idea, hey, online sales overall are up, which is great. But when we think about some of our complex, large items, again, think kitchens, bedrooms, multiple different pieces that take up a ton of space in the home and cost a shopper a lot of money, those are declining and return rates are going up, which is a sign of where we started up in the headline, the imagination gap, right? People aren't feeling confident in their purchases with IKEA. However, what we're beginning to see in some of our smaller store openings is this is actually getting worse, and yet other stores, competitors like Home Depot, they're actually seeing those categories increase. We know something can be done, but if we don't do something, we're gonna fall further and further behind. So notice inside of this problem statement, we're using their language, their data, specifics, and we're drawing out the tension by bringing in an example of what's possible from Home Depot. All right, now that we've built the tension, now we can begin to set up how we're gonna go solve it, and we're gonna begin to build out the recommended approach. Now inside of this, especially early stage, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out not by listing necessarily some specific vendors like 3Kit in this case. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna gain some consensus on, hey, this is the right way to go about solving it. Then we can begin to layer in who will we solve it with, all right? So first, pilot phase, we're gonna begin to include our very first launch of the augmented virtual reality. And then over time, this is where we can begin to integrate with other approaches. We can begin to bundle in things like TaskRabbit to go assemble and accelerate some of the purchases by bringing in the partnerships channel, all right? So we can begin to show how we build over time. We're setting up a foundation. This is the difference between buying a product and creating an approach. We're taking what IKEA is already doing. So as an example of this, TaskRabbit, they will come to your house and they will actually, you guys know all the like little screws to put together some IKEA furniture, right? So TaskRabbit will come to your house and actually do that. So if you're buying a massive bedroom set, tables, dressers, then you can say, hey, I'm gonna add a couple $100 on my checkout. Some of that revenue is gonna go to TaskRabbit to go actually do the work, but part of it is gonna go back in order to IKEA, but only if you get the purchase in the first place. To do that, we have to close the imagination gap with the 3D tech, all right? So now you can begin to show how buying this tech, following this approach, actually accelerates revenue, all driven by some of these large purchases in a few directions. Now, based on that, we can begin to include this inside of some of our target outcomes. We can begin to use some of the metrics on how these different points that we've talked about start to improve. Now, let me show you an example. Over time, what you'll begin to do is build out to the point where you have specific data on the right metrics. Early stage, you may not actually have some of these. You may just have placeholders like this. We don't know what the actual cart abandonment rate might be. People who walk in, they begin to design something, maybe they're clicking around on a computer in store, but they never actually finish their purchase. What is that today? Well, that's the whole point, is we're gonna begin to, with the placeholder, we're gonna begin to ask, and we're gonna begin to insert a comment that we can begin to direct our next conversation in the buying team back toward. So we may say, what's the current cart abandonment rate today? And this is gonna be a prompt for the buying team to jump in and begin building with us. Now, finally, if we want to unlock those outcomes, what's it gonna take? This is where we include not just the financials in the budget, but we can begin to include what's the people time, the staff resources that's required. And this is where, let's say we're gonna fast forward a little later stage, we can begin to include, for example, what is 3Kit as the vendor of choice in this scenario? What are they going to be dedicating as well? That way we can begin to show over time how we begin to partner together and we build, again, a true partnership. Now, the final point that I want to call out here, when we put this all together, we package this up, this becomes then everything that you need in order to run a complex deal. How you start a meeting with an executive, how you brief a sales engineer on what to demo, how you begin to bring CS into the loop on what a customer is expecting, how you deploy the pilot, as well as, again, all the way back early stage, how we figure out where the top deal gaps are and how we go fill them. So one more time from the top, what we just built out, we started with the headline, closing the imagination gap. Then we began to tee up the problem statement. What is standing in the way? What's blocking it? And if we don't address it, why is it going to grow worse? Then we went into the recommended approach. How are we going to go solve the problem, unblock the priority, which then leads to a set of outcomes. How do we know it's working? What's the difference going to be? And in order to get there, what is the investment that's required? You package all of those different up, you stack it up over time and throughout the deal. That's your one-page business case. Now, if you found this helpful and you want to go a little bit deeper, I would encourage you to grab Brief and Brilliant. This is where I break down the thinking, the approach in far more depth and detail. So go check it out. It's available for sale on Amazon, and you can get it on Audible and Spotify.
That's a wrap, folks. If you like this video, the #1 way to tell us to do more stuff like this is to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell. It's the #1 free way that you can support the channel and make sure that we can keep doing content like this. If you like this too, there are some videos that are around here or down below. I don't even know where they put them anymore. Go click on some of these other videos that'll help you get better at selling or get to President's Club or whatever you're trying to do. Maybe it'll entertain you on your couch. Alrighty, peace, y'all.